Recorded Books and RB Digital present The Diversity Bonus, How Great Teams Pay Off in the Knowledge Economy, by Scott E. Page, narrated by L.J. Ganser. Introduction. Earl Lewis and Nancy Cantor. Recently, audiences flocked in record numbers to watch Hidden Figures, which told the uplifting story of three brilliant African-American women who played indispensable but largely unknown roles at NASA in the iconic American success story of John Glenn's launch into orbit and the Apollo missions that followed. These women, products of the segregated South, made lasting contributions to the nation's space program in spite of social strictures that initially limited their inclusion. Their achievements improved the work of NASA's teams of scientists, enriched the space program as a whole, and helped accomplish the national goal of putting a man on the moon. For the team tackling a complex problem, their cognitive skills, grit, determination, and drive proved a plus. Hollywood's dramatization of a moment of exclusion that begrudgingly transitioned to a moment of inclusion is set against the backdrop of unfolding social and political practices. Recall that segregation was birthed in the late 19th century, matured into a hardened system through the middle of the 20th century, and ended formally in the latter quarter of that century. It didn't end voluntarily, naturally, or completely on its own. It ended because women, men, and children organized, agitated, and fought to end it. The women profiled in the film were agents in the forging of change. Diversity and inclusion, contested or valued? As we prepare this introduction, diversity and inclusion remain highly contested. Americans of all faiths, hues, and histories take to the streets and the airports to protest a hastily configured immigration ban that seems to target Muslims and deny access to the refuge and the opportunities that have defined this country's core values for centuries. In London, a global city if ever there was one, marchers remind Prime Minister Theresa May that while a majority might have voted for Brexit, they won't tolerate sending their neighbors out of Britain or blocking others' entrance into it. Back in the United States, Native Americans rightfully question the normalization of one version of history. Let me get this straight. You're afraid of refugees coming to America, killing you, and taking your property? At the same time, those who oppose the more restrictive rhetoric cannot ignore the fact that scores of others in the United States, Great Britain, and across Europe celebrate the us versus them viewpoint. Online, at family gatherings, and in the press, they fashion a worldview according to which it is better to exclude than to be victimized by those who are included. They are not all nationalists or on the political fringe. Some simply question institutions they deem elite and out of touch with their realities. They seek to preserve advantages and look for ways to pass those advantages on to their children and relatives. In the first volume in the Our Compelling Interests series, we informed readers that diversity and inclusion would not come easily, but a better understanding of what is to be derived from a fuller embrace would redound to the benefit of the broader society. Invariably, the question turned to how. How would we make such a decision? How do we know that diversity and inclusion would benefit the common good? How do we imagine this working in the future? Sometimes the past provides a window into the future. During the height of the Cold War, we imagined that people of integrity and substance, once vetted, could and would enrich the United States. Then, as now, we selectively let them enter the country, and, once admitted, most became loving, devoted citizens. Along the way, their diverse backgrounds, intellectual powers, and honed skills helped us advance as a nation and people. Emblematic is the story New York Times columnist Nicholas Kristof shares about his father, Władysław Krzysztofowicz, a refugee who had repeatedly faced death in the old country for not belonging, now somehow counted as American even before he had set foot on American soil, even before he had learned English. It was an inclusiveness that dazzled him, that kindled a love for America that he passed on to his son. The church sponsored Krzysztofowicz, even though he wasn't Presbyterian, even though he was Eastern European at a time when the communist bloc
Sample complete. Ready to continue?